Fedora Linux 42 is right around the corner, and today we want to have a brief look at the distro, specifically their brand new official build, KDE Plasma. Thanks for checking out Switch to Linux. If you like this type of content, please feel free to subscribe to the channel if you've not already done so. Leave us a like and a comment down below to push us along in the algorithm. And today we want to have a look at Fedora 32. The beta just dropped a couple of days ago, so I grabbed a copy of this bad boy and we are going to have a look at it. Now, the official workstation is GNOME, but they've also, in this edition, they're going to have the first KDE Plasma official build. It has been a community build in the past. Community spin is what they call them, but they do, this is going to be the first time they have that. Now, they do have a new spin, and that is Cosmic. Even though it's not officially released yet, there is a Cosmic spin. We also have a server, IoT, cloud, core. Of course, Fedora is basically the testing staging server for Red Hat. So you might be alert of that. So just looking over at the website here, we have the new edition alert that announces the KDE. We have the Cosmic Spin, and they also have some changes to the Anaconda installer. I didn't actually notice the changes when we first started, but after reading this and looking back, yeah, there's now they changed this a couple years ago. They definitely improved it then, and basically they're just finally working to refine it. That does make the installation process much easier. So for this one, they have introduced a new web UI for the default Fedora workstation. Now, since I'm using the Plasma, I don't think we have the exact new one they're referencing here, and I didn't grab the workstation. Maybe I should. So I'm not sure if they just have the older version on this. Like I said, I didn't notice a lot of differences, but I did see some things that I don't remember being there, but I haven't installed Fedora for a little while. But anyway, they say the users can enjoy smooth installation. There's extra features like progress indicators, built-in help, configuration review, and more. And the new features includes a wizard allowing users to skip what they don't need during the installation. And they launched a new web UI for partitioning Fedora beta. So biggest benefit is the new guided partitioning section that you need. Now, there are some extra tools. Now, there's a lot in here for developers. They have Python development improvements and Ruby development improvements. Since I'm not a programmer, I'm not going to get into those. The one that's most interesting to me is the DNF5. So they have new logic that will remove obsolete and expired repository keys and then add newer keys as needs be as well. So that's now an automated process. That's one of the things that I've had an issue with EndeavourOS in the past is the Arch keys will expire and there's no mechanism, or at least there wasn't a mechanism in the system to get those. I had to manually do those before pushing the next update. I think they've resolved that. I haven't had to do that in about a year or two, but that is something that is nice to see. And also, particularly in this, what we want to have a look at in the Plasma is how they are managing their the extra repositories. Because remember, Fedora's core is pure free and open source, which most people really like. But they also had it very easy in the latest few editions to simply say during the setup process, yeah, go ahead and install the non-free stuff as well. It's an extra step and an extra process, but I want to show you how that is managed over there. Now we're going to be looking at the KDE Plasma version is the one that I have downloaded here. So we have it for x84, the PPC 64, that's the power computers. They have the ARM over here. So we have those. Let's see, what are the difference between these two here? Oh, there's a raw and a live ISO. They do have a media writer in the event you don't want to use any other means. You can use this. Of course, if you're on Windows or Mac, this might be the better option than some of the other options out there, as we had mentioned. They have a Linux edition as well. Of course, I just use my, I use Ventoy, or I use my Linux Mint USB writer, things like that. And so you can actually go over here and give this guy a test. You can download this. So the first thing I want to do is have a look at the installer. So let's go ahead and do that next. So once you get this guy booted up into the system here, the initial setup procedure is going to be very similar to what we've seen in the past. Now, in the past, as I recall, it would go right into the installer. This one on Plasma, it lands you on the desktop first. Landing on the desktop, you can see here in the Fedora Linux Welcome Center that the first option we have here, we can launch and install the installer right here. And now we go ahead and select our language and our region. We understand that this is a pre-release, so don't use this. Whoa, I have no idea why that mouse got so big all of a sudden. Well, let's go ahead and proceed with that. So now we can see here in our summaries here, we don't need to mess with any of our time zones, any of the network stuff. The installation destination, we need to choose this one here. So over here, we can do an automatic, we can do a custom, we can do an advanced. We also can free up space by removing or shrinking existing partitions, or we can encrypt it. And if we select the encryption, we will pick a passphrase before we go on. Go ahead and choose that one. And then you have the root account options. So you can enable or disable the root account. And then under user creation, you can create your individual user there. We'll just call this Fedora. You can add administrative privileges or not. You can require the password or not. I'll just enter a super secret password that's definitely not 123. Even though the system is too short, it will allow us to use it, but we do have to press done twice. And we're back to that massive cursor again. That's probably an artifact of my GNOME boxes. So now with this, we can go ahead and click the begin installation. So I'm not going to install it right here. I've already installed it. I've set up the initial system. So we're going to jump on over to my pre-installed version next. When you first install it, you're going to be greeted with the Welcome Center after the installation, of course, so it's not going to have the installation there. And this is going to walk us by all of the things in Plasma. I've already talked about Plasma, so I'm not going to go into all of this. You can refer to my prior videos on the Plasma 6X series. But I do want to go to near the end here. This is where you enable your third-party repositories. Once again, we're back with that massive mouse cursor. No idea why it's doing that periodically. So you can see that my third-party repositories are enabled because my button now says disabled. So I can go ahead and enable or disable them right here. By default, they are disabled and this button says enable. That's going to turn on, it turns on Google Chrome. It turns on your RPM Fusion, your non-free. It adds your non-free drivers for your NVIDIA cards and things like that. Now, those are all things that you can individually toggle in Discover later. So this is really where those have landed. So if you go into your Discover and into your settings, then you can see over here, here's our firmware updates. So we're doing our vendor directory. Here's LVFS. Linux vendor firmware service. Over here we have our Fedora flat packs and our flat hub here. That mouse cursor is going to drive me crazy. Wasn't doing that in any of my testing until I started recording. But anyway, the Fedora flat packs, they had that controversy recently. I think it was OBS Studio. They packaged a bad version. Caused a little bit of a controversy. The one in the official flat hub is just fine. I did a video on that. Brody had a really good video on it as well. You can have a look at that one. But over here here's your basic Fedora, and here's your Fedora test updates, which is because we're in a beta. Here's your updates, and then down here near the bottom we get our Fusion. So I don't use NVIDIA, so I can easily toggle this guy off, enter my super secret password that's definitely not 123, Google Chrome, ew. And then here's your non-free for Steam. Here's Steambug. I don't really use Steam. And then I'm not sure which one PyCharm are. We'll go ahead and leave those alone. So that's really where you can turn things on or turn things off. I'm going to turn that one back on, actually. I can't remember which one has all of the extra options that we need. But you can see you can manage those over inside of your Discover over here. We can actually do all of the other updating systems inside of here. You can see there's no updates. I did push the system updates before starting the video. Now, as far as what do we get with this system, we basically get Fedora build with basically a full-featured Plasma instance. So some people might consider it a little bit more bloated. We have the full range of system tools, our contact, we have Kwrite, console, Discover, obviously. But we also have a lot of other things. Here's a couple of games, K games. We have the K Paint. We have the scan page. If you're new to KDE, you might notice a K theme inside of everything emerging. K aggregator. We have Kmail, KRDC. So you can see there's a lot of basically all of the effective system tools that are typical inside of a basic Plasma build are inside of here, which is nice because it does give us a full featured operating system. It has all of the tools, everything that we need in order to work. Now, I do want to highlight that our system is in, our system does run Wayland, of course, being Fedora, one of the first distros to run Wayland almost exclusively. And if we go down to the About the System here, you can see that we have Wayland as our graphics platform there. We can see we're on Plasma version 6.3.3. Qt versions are listed there, and we are at the kernel 6.14. So that is what you can see over there. So as far as other applications outside of the basic K apps, there's really not a lot. We have Firefox as our web browser. We have LibreOffice installed as our office editor. And so we have a lot of different, not a lot of software installed on this by default. But as far as adding software, whereas your basic workstation uses the GNOME software store, this one here actually uses Discover. So you can see up here, this is from where we're looking at. Here's a Fedora Flatpaks, a FlatHub, and a Fedora Linux. Let's look at something like Audacity. So looking at the Audacity application, once again, let's see, we have over, there's the Fedora or the Flatpak version. This is a development version of Audacity is out of date. Using the stable one would be better. Okay, that's from a Fedora Flatpaks. This is the regular ones. You see, that's where the controversy from the Fedora Flatpaks come from. This one here may not be the correct one, but they might have put this in here because they got a threat of legal action for having out of date things inside their own Flatpak repository. But you can see we can load it from a couple of different sources as well. So this is how you install extra software. You can search for individual pieces of software. So if I want to do a web browser, I could search for it up there, and you can see here's your various options, and it'll tell you the sources. There's Chromium. This one's probably from the repository. This one's from Flatpak. LibreWolf is an option. There's Vivaldi. There's your web. There's WaterFox, Microsoft Edge, Dear Help Us. There's Google Chrome. And we disabled the Chrome repository. If we didn't, we would actually see the official Google Chrome in here as well. I didn't see Brave in that list, and I would expect to see Brave as it is a Flatpak. There it is. So there's Brave from the Flatpak. So you can see you can install any type of software that you want. You can just browse for things based on your individual categories as well. So there's how you can add your software. Now, again, we're not going to go into all of the ins and outs and things inside of the Plasma desktop. We have videos covering just the desktop itself. This is, I do want to highlight one of the features. This is a new feature inside of it, just adjusting the monitor brightness itself, independent of adjusting it on your screen. So that's actually a nice new feature inside. So as overall, from what I can see, we just have a really good Fedora system based on Plasma, and in my opinion, this is really a good beneficial thing for Fedora down the road, because there are a number of people that are not super keen on the GNOME desktop environment. So this gives us another one that is an official, which is a very well supported, very well maintained desktop environment that some people are just more comfortable. If I had to choose between GNOME or Plasma and I had no other options, I'm going Plasma every time. It is a much more versatile and option-enabled desktop environment that gives me the ability to do my layout any way I want to do my layout. Adding on to it the Fedora packages and the build behind Fedora, this is definitely a very good system to use. And I did actually test when I first installed this and set up the I set up the basic system updates that needed to be done. I did actually see that DNF5 go in there and make those key changes needed, which took some stress out of it if there were some outdated keys or things like that. So overall, this is an excellent release. If you do like Plasma, you might want to have a look at this one. What is it as it comes out as being an official build of Fedora going forward. So there is our brief look at our Fedora Plasma. Let us know what you think in the comments down below. Are you a Fedora fan or a Plasma fan? Does this excite you, or does this like, meh? Let me know. Leave some discussion down below. Thanks for watching, and I hope that you enjoy switching to Linux.